All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another live. This is another month of wealth and legacy, mothers building generational wealth. If this is your first time here, I'm Denetra Johnson, also known as the House Dealer. I'm a Metro Detroit realtor and investor, and I use this platform to bring real conversations and real resources to people who want to build wealth. Each week, I'm bringing on experts who are actually in the field doing the work. Tonight, we're talking insurance, wealth, motherhood, entrepreneurship, and why protecting your assets and stuff is just as important as building them. Tiffany, tonight, our guest is a woman who truly represents what it means to build, protect, and create legacy. Tiffany Hoskins, I hope I'm pronouncing
Yep,
that.
it's just asking.
Yes, is a licensed insurance agent with Allstate, and I see that she has her licensed mortgage. She's a licensed mortgage lender as well.
Yep.
A mom and an entrepreneur who helps families protect what they work hard for. So, welcome Tiffany to the
Thank
live.
you. Thank you. Thanks so much for
Welcome.
having me.
Yes, glad to have you here with us. Okay, so if you're gonna start it off, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So my name is Tiffany Hoskin. I am currently a licensed insurance producer for the Cameron Young Allstate Agency. Shout out to Cameron. Cameron's been in the Allstate business for 40 years. He's one of the longest standing Black agencies in the state of Michigan. So very honored to be a part of his team. My background starts in finances. I worked at Charles Schwab for 7 years in the financial sector. Um, Pretty much where I learned mostly about um, investing on the stock market and just investing, period. I later transitioned to mortgages. So I worked for Rocket Mortgage for 8 years. I achieved President's Club banking
Mhm.
at Rocket, and life just changed. Something that we're going to be talking about today. How to adapt in the corporate world, how to continue to build your brand, your legacy, and be a mom and be an entrepreneur and all of those things. So definitely have a story and a journey throughout corporate America, and still trying to find my way and building wealth and legacy for my family for sure.
Period. I love that. I love it all. So if you can, a lot of people only think about, home insurance because we know that you do home insurance for
For
Allstate.
sure.
What other types of insurance do you help people get?
So, we write boat insurance, life insurance, car insurance, renters insurance, homeowners insurance, just about anything that you can think of that you would need to insure. We either have a product or have access to a product that can help. So, landlords, is very popular. Of course, you work with a lot of investors, and that's important. So,
Mhm.
when you think about insurance, you're thinking about protecting yourself or hedging yourself against risk. So
Mhm.
anything that you might be afraid that you could possibly use should be insured.
Mhm.
Lose. Anything you're afraid that you could possibly lose should be insured. Yeah.
Definitely. And listen, Cameron Young Agency, the best of the game,
Okay, come on,
y'all.
Ash.
Okay, so what's one type of insurance you think people overlook or don't take seriously enough?
Renter's insurance, hands down. Most people rent a home. Most people don't insure their interest in that home. A lot of
Mhm.
people having conversations with them feel like, okay, I live in this home. If something happens, the person who owns the home is
Mhm.
insured. Yes, they're insured, but they're insured their interest in that home. Your interest in that home is the fact that you live there, all of your belongings are there. And if God forbid, you're not able to live in that home, where do you go? So
Right.
renters policies, they insure your personal belongings inside of the home. And one of the biggest assets of a renter's policy is loss of use. Loss of use protects you and gives you money to move elsewhere. Last year there was a big old fire right on Southfield Road, big old apartment building. thousands of people lost their home. Most of them did not have renter's insurance. Your renter's policy will cut you a check right away to stay at a hotel or stay at an Airbnb.
Mm,
Outside of that, you don't have much recourse besides, government assistance or Red Cross. So
mm.
renters policies, hands down, are policies that are overlooked. A lot of people just don't feel like they need them or they're important.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of, relate to that a little bit, I guess. I had
Yeah.
religion insurance at first at a point in time when I was ready, but then it was like, do I think I really even need this? You know what I'm saying? So it is. I
It's
guess that is
fairly
important.
inexpensive. It's fairly inexpensive. And, it's one of those things where, of course, if something happens, you want to be insured. But renters, is tough,
Mhm.
especially a lot of people have children and things like that. So not to have any recourse if something happens. And 9 times out of 10, it's somebody else's house. So if something happens, they're more concerned about themselves than they are you. So that's why
Right.
it's much more important because it's not even a first-hand loss. It's a
Mhm.
second-hand loss. So, in that instance, you really don't have any protection if you don't protect yourself.
Maybe thinking that the owner's gonna gonna pay for everything too, like it's their property, they gonna pay for everything that's up in here.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah. So what made you get into, the insurance industry, and just, be an entrepreneur, period?
So we kind of started off talking about, how do we as women, how do we position ourselves in situations where we can win? We already have so many things on our plate, whether we're taking care of children or whether we're, whatever it is. Some of us at our age are even taking care of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this age, there's a lot to explore. Um, as you know, you're a salesperson. Sales in general creates an avenue for you to have flexibility in your life. So in that instance, being in an industry where I not only am I helping people, but I'm able to kind of maneuver a little bit different because that's what entrepreneurship is, right? It gives you that flexibility to be at your daughter's school or, to, maybe cut out a little bit later so that you're able to do what you need to do, but maybe you're working a little bit later in that day. So there is a lot of flexibility that comes with being an entrepreneur that I think in this day and age is vital to us women that are, building not just, families, but are that are trying to build something. Like you really can't punch somebody else's clock when
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to build something that's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that I would say was being in the industry where I'm able to sell. Selling regardless is, and I know Keisha probably talked about this a lot when she was there because she always talks about how she loves to sell and how many doors that opens for her. That
Mm-hmm.
flexibility definitely allows you to be able to achieve more because you're not necessarily tied to any particular thing. Insurance for me actually just came pretty easily
Mm-hmm.
because working as a mortgage loan originator, insurance was something that I always was intertwined in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
My career at Rocket Mortgage was very demanding. There was a lot of time, it was a lot of stress. I never really felt that I was in control over my life. I always felt somebody else was pulling my strings, telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a lane that that I was good at, that I was able to excel at because it's rewarding and because I was kind of able to craft my own way, along with it being a situation where Cameron isn't always just telling me do this, do this, do that, has definitely allowed me the opportunity to do things like this. It's 7 o'clock. I'm on with you because I don't, I'm not at Rocket Mortgage writing mortgages,
Mm-hmm.
So it really just, it really just, it takes for you to find what you're good at
Mm-hmm.
and to bet on yourself, like literally, you know what I mean? Like you have to find your lane because whenever you work night and day for something, it has to be something that you truly believe in, or you won't be able to give it your all. So the first advice that I have is just always find do what you good at. Do what you're good at, do what you love.
Hmm.
And then do it on your own terms and do it to the fullest.
I love that. So, just with that being said, do you feel like just being in real estate or just insurance period has changed your life? From
Absolutely. That feeling that you get when you're at the closing table with your clients and they buy that first home for the I'm getting chills right now, even talking about it. Like, you know how rewarding that is. So,
hmm
being on the insurance side, I'm still able to participate in that. I'm still able to give my expertise, and I'm still able to be the same thing that I was when, when I was working in the mortgage transaction. Is just a different lane.
hmm
For me, it's better because it's more transactional. As you know, you could be working with a client for 4 months, you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily just kind of a cut and dry thing. But there was a gap and a disconnect between my loan officers and my insurance agents and my real estate partners, because even now there's still so many real estate agents and loan officers that don't realize or understand the importance of having a insurance partner and what that brings to their clients. I
hmm
always tell my partners, listen, you're inside, you're on the battlefield of one of the most stressful, transactions that these people will ever go through in their entire life. And as much as you hold their hand through everything else, you should not get to home insurance and say, go find you some insurance. Like, that's
Yeah.
just not how it works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you hold their hand through the inspection, you hold their hand through the appraisal. And then sometimes, I hear the loan officer or the real estate agent say, get 3 quotes. But
Yeah.
then the client doesn't no idea, what that quote consists of, what they're looking for, what's the difference between replacement cost and
hmm
actual cash value. So, as much as you are an expert in your field, as much as the loan officer is an expert in their field, you want to have an additional expert in the home insurance field so that your client feels calm. They don't feel that anxiety. It's not stressful. The pressure of getting it wrong is not there, because now I'm passing them off to a professional that I know will take
hmm
care of them, give them the proper advice, the proper coverage, and then we're able to check this off of our list. If they don't do it right, it's a reoccurring thing. They come back with a premium too high. They come back with coverages that the insurance company won't accept. So all of those things are possibilities. And for you, that means delays. That means confusion. That means, all of these things that you don't need inside of your transaction because you're trying to get to the closing table.
Yeah.
So, because I'm on the inside, I definitely understand what it takes to just, go through it, get it done and get it checked off the list so we can get that clear to close that we're looking for.
Yes, that is great information, by the way, because I could definitely relate to just saying, how real estate agents when we got to that part, because when I first became a real estate agent, we
Yeah.
didn't start, and nobody was like, oh, you gotta find an insurance person to, send to. They was just like, get 3 quotes. So that's what
And
we
how
would
many
tell people.
times have you gotten a call from your client after closing? They have an issue with their home. They
Mhm.
need to talk to their insurance company, and you or them have no clue who their insurance is through.
Right, right,
You know
right.
what I mean? And I know that for a fact because I've been a law officer. You know what I mean? So until I was able to find somebody that I could say, hey, go to this
Yeah.
person. I'm comfortable with the fact that they'll give you the, the information that you need and do a good job for you. So that's why it's important. There's something in it for all of us, but ultimately, as a real estate agent, as a loan officer, your job is to make sure that you can take as much stress off of your client as possible.
hmm
Because the easier you make the transaction, the better it is for you. Because they won't think about, the bad stuff. They'll only think about how wonderful you were, how easy you made it, and they'll tell every single person that. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was at Rocket, we had something called, well, actually this came from Schwab. It was called creating raving fans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to do. You want every single person that walks away from you to have this broad, just warm and fuzzy feeling about you. And the more things that you can take off the client's plate, the more things that you can make easier for them, the better they'll feel about you overall.
Yes, yes, yes. And listen, insurance can save a deal too because sometimes those insurance quotes be extra high,
Yeah.
if you don't have the
Yeah.
right people, so definitely Cameron has saved me on a lot of deals
Yeah.
in insurance. So yeah.
Yep. And I mean, ultimate so Cameron actually recruited me. And
Mhm,
that was one of the reasons why. I mean, there aren't a lot of variables when it comes to buying a house. The interest rates are the interest rates. The money that the client has in their account is the money that they have in their account. There aren't too many things that you can actually change that could change the deal. And the homeowner's insurance is one of those things.
mhm.
And you want to have somebody that you can call up and say, hey, listen, we're in crunch time. I need your help. And, that can deliver, that can actually provide those results that you need, that's going to get you to the closing table.
Yes. Um, what are some things when shopping for home insurance that people should look for? I guess.
So, the first thing that I tell everybody about home insurance is actually not even home insurance related. The very first piece of advice that I have is to get a home inspection. Your
Mhm,
home inspection is going to tell you exactly what you need to know. And if there's anything in particular that you need to hedge yourself against. For
mhm,
example, service lines. So in Detroit, we know most of the homes were built in the 20s, 30s, or 40s. The service lines, the plumbing from the home to the main line are old.
mhm,
Sometimes, it's time to get those things fixed. If you have it scoped out, the inspector can say, hey, listen, your service lines may need to be replaced soon. In that instance, you would definitely want to get service line protection on your homeowner's insurance because that gives you additional money just in case something fails and you have to replace those now. You
mhm,
understand what I mean? Because everything in a home, these homes are old. Some things need to be replaced in 5 years. Some things need to be replaced in 10 years. Your mortgage is for 30 years. So
mhm,
in that instance, you need to have an understanding of what that timeline looks like so you're not blindsided by anything. So
mhm,
that's always a conversation that I have with my clients. What did your inspector say about your roof? What did your inspector say about the basement? Things of that nature. So that as we're having the conversation to make sure that all the coverages are up to par, you have an understanding that you're bringing to me. So it doesn't feel like I'm selling you something. It,
mhm,
it seems more like I'm concerned about what's going on with your home and I want to make sure that you're covered. So
mhm.
that's the very first thing, have some type of understanding of the home that you're purchasing. And that usually comes from having a home inspection.
Okay, okay, good information. Um, what are I guess what's one crazy experience that you've had where coverage really mattered at that point? I know you said the situation with the renters and the
Hmm.
building catching on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, so many things. Like if you've seen an Allstate commercial, you've seen Mayhem. He's always into something. It's always something wild happening. I seen just now, not too long ago, a client closed on a home. Allstate went out and had an inspection, and there was issues within the client's roof.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always, we're in an industry where we're not working in the city of Detroit. We don't have brand new homes. We have homes that are throwback. You know what I'm saying? These
Mm-hmm.
homes been rinsed and recycled so many times. So there's always things that we have to brace ourselves for. Um, but for the most part, I mean, some of everything. Trees falling on houses, on
Yeah.
a sunny day. I mean, just just everything. I tell people Insurance is definitely important, especially when you have a loan on a home for 120, anywhere from 120 to $400,000. So it's definitely important to make sure that you have the proper coverage and
Mm-hmm.
that you have some coverage overall. There's a lot of companies out here that can care less whether or not
Mm-hmm.
your home is insured properly. But we do our best to make sure that we're not giving you too much coverage, overcharging you, giving you things that you don't need, but also having the conversations that are robust and making sure that we cover all of our bases.
Okay.
Just a quick aside note: all states' home policies are what's considered to be all peril.
Mm-hmm.
So that literally means anything. A football goes through your window, a tree falls on it, lightning strikes it. You have two exclusions, which are flood, which is, if you're in a flood zone, your lender is going to say, hey, you need a flood policy. So it's not that you can't have flood, but if you're in a flood zone, you need a separate flood policy. And outside of flood, earthquake, which we don't really necessarily have earthquakes. So flood and earthquake are the only two exclusions in our policy. Everything else, anything you can think of, literally anything is covered by policies.
Okay, okay. And just and speaking of cost, how can I guess people lower their insurance without sacrificing good coverage? Because I know that just speaking of flooding, basements flood all the time.
Hmm.
So and we don't want to pay an arm and a leg for home insurance. So
For
how
sure.
can I know people try to go with the basic home insurance, but what's I guess I don't know if you get the question that I'm trying to ask. Something good that
Yeah,
people do.
so what's kind of the key? First off, just shopping with Allstate, like real talk. Like I'm very, very keen on my competitors in the city of Detroit. So, you only have a few people that are actually insuring. State Farm is kind of pick and choose, who they insure. And then, redlining is definitely a thing.
Mhm.
It happens in mortgages and it's the same as in insurance because within insurance, you're assessing risk, right? So you're taking on risk from somebody else. So when you look at, different communities, you might look at them and think they're a little bit riskier than other communities. And those communities, as an insurance agent that has to pay these claims, you might think it's okay to charge a little bit more. It's not. That's against the law, first of all. Allstate has done a really good job of, working with our client base to make sure that we're not excluding people from being insured. So
Mhm.
the first thing that you can do to keep your premiums down is take care of the maintenance on your home.
Mhm.
Um, we, for instance, will give you a discount if you have a newer roof. Roofs are the biggest pitfall in home insurance, right? Because most people get a roof and they never maintain it. They let the shingles fly off and they let the water leak in, and then they want the insurance company to save them, when in all actuality, as a homeowner, it's your job to maintain your roof. So home maintenance is definitely the very first thing.
Mhm.
Make sure that you communicate with your insurance agent if there's ever a time that things change in your home, you downsize, you don't have as many articles that you might have had before, or maybe even some things are insured elsewhere. Like for me, my appliances are insured through DTE. So water backup is not really something that I'm concerned about because I don't keep anything in my basement. So everybody's needs are going to be a little bit different. It's just about, knowing exactly what it is that that you need, and making sure that you have the proper conversations with your insurance agent so that you're not overly insured. Replacement cost is just like a appraisal. It's somebody's guess or official professional judgment on how much it would cost to rebuild your home, but that number isn't a definitive number.
Mhm.
So that number is also a number that can be adjusted. If you purchase a home for 120, the replacement cost may say 212. in all actuality, you may be okay with taking $140,000 in replacement costs. And as long as your lender is okay with that, you may be able to reduce that. So we have a scale that goes from 80% replacement costs all the way down to 120
Mm,
replace, 20%, all like 160%. So you
okay.
have a choice to decide where do you want your replacement cost to lie. So those
Okay.
are things that a lot of people don't know. You don't have to take a definitive number. Our scale goes from 80% all the way down to like 170%. So
Okay.
there's changes that you can make that will make the policy cheaper. And then also bundling your home and your auto, your life insurance. The more policies that you have with a carrier, the better your rates are going to be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. We got a question in the comments about,
Okay.
going back to the service line protection. They say, is the service line protection through the water company worth it, or should we look elsewhere for it?
So I'm not exactly sure what's offered through the water company. It kind of depends. And I live in Highland Park, so I'm not even part of the Detroit water department. But what I would say is most service lines, because the service line is a small portion of the line. Usually it's in the front yard and it goes from the house that out to the main sewage. For the most part, it's usually anywhere from 15 to $17,000. Our policy will give you $10,000 towards the water line replacement. So,
Mm,
um, a good way to gauge whether it is a good program would be to estimate how much it would cost to replace the water lines and how much they're charging you to have that coverage.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. For us, it's probably an additional $175 a year.
Mm, okay. Hope that answered your question. All right, so let's hop into being a mom in the real estate industry. How do you balance motherhood, business, and just still making time for yourself?
So that's like the hardest part about being a mom. I would say most professionals have to balance some sort of professional life with their personal life.
Mm-hmm.
Being a mom, there's especially, if you're not a married mom, if you're a single mom, which a lot of my friends are, I have a lot of friends that are single mothers in this industry. Balancing can be tough. We're in a very demanding career.
Yeah.
um you know we have to write offers at midnight, and you're always trying to make sure that you're ahead of the game, that nobody's waiting on you in that transaction, right? You hate to be the person that you're holding the deal up because you haven't done what you need to do to get it to the next place. Priorities, I think, keeping God first, making sure that you prioritize family and yourself. And sometimes that means that you're not able to do every single thing. It was very hard for me to walk away from Rocket Mortgage. That job provided me with a lot of security. I made a ton of money. It was just, it was at some point, it was very frightening to me to even think about not having the security of that job. However, when I weighed my options, that the security was really all that the job provided for me.
Mm-hmm.
I missed out on so many other things because I was always working. So, you have to, again, bet on yourself. You have to figure out, how do I give what I have, but not give everything to this one place. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So it can be very tough, and it looks different for everybody. I'm at a
Mm-hmm.
place now where most of my children are grown. I
Mm-hmm.
have a 15-year-old. She's a sophomore, a freshman in high school. So now, because my life has changed, I'm able to maneuver a little bit differently. But like I said, it looks different for every single person. But prioritizing what's most important, of course, keeping a roof over their head is definitely important.
Mm-hmm.
But also making sure that you don't lose yourself in the process. So I mean, it can be tough. I think it's great to have a support system to lean on people that do the same thing that you do and to get feedback on how they do it and to try different things. It doesn't necessarily say that everybody's journey is the same. Your journey is going to look completely different from mine, but however, we may have some similarities of things that we can do to make things easier for ourselves.
Yeah.
So just keep going. Life is tough these days. There's so many things that are going on, but I think it's definitely, it's prioritizing and just making sure that you refresh yourself, because if you ever clunk out, run out of energy, then nothing's
Yes.
going to happen. Like nothing can happen if you're not charged up enough.
Yes, 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 for sure. All of that true. Definitely. And you talking about you got grown kids, girl.
Yep.
I
Yep.
can't just see it.
Super grown.
Hey,
Super, super duper grown. Yeah.
that's good. That's wonderful. What helped you kind of build that confidence? I know you spoke on it a little bit, but how helped you build that confidence and, just be an entrepreneur?
Oh, I actually came from a really good background. I was a housewife. My ex-husband played professional basketball. So,
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of had, I've always been a people person, always good communicator. But the very first job I had was at Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab is a world-renowned brokerage firm, and they were very big on your brand. And you come on, come on, okay.
Period.
So from the beginning in my professional career, I was taught that you are the brand. You. And I'm saying that this is a real thing. I wish I could pull it up, but your brand is the most important thing that you have. It's your reputation. It's what people want to know about you. Who are you? What
Mhm,
do you do? What do you stand for?
mhm,
And that was kind of embedded in me from the beginning. Even when, I mean, I'm talking about, I was making $27,000, but that was kind of the baseline of, you work here, you represent us, and everything that we do is based on this brand. You are a part of our brand, you represent us. So in
mhm,
that instance, you have to be the best person that you can be. When
mhm,
I got to Rocket Mortgage, and one of the reasons why I was so confident that I would be good at mortgages is because I came from Schwab. Schwab had a partnership with Rocket Mortgage, and um, a lot of those values and a lot of that core stuff aligned. So it was
mhm,
like, okay, so now it was more kind of like an extension of what I already had bred into me, but it was a little bit more aggressive. Like, hey, you return calls when the client calls you. You don't, not respond with a sense of urgency. So all we had something called isms. All of these things taught you how to be a better person, how to be a better salesperson, how to stand in for your teammates, how
mhm,
to develop relationships with outside people. So, I was just fortunate enough to where I came from places that really poured into
mhm,
me as a employee, that really cared about how I represented myself for them. And
mhm,
that kind of taught me to represent myself for me. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Because even though I stood for this brand, a lot of people don't like Rocket Mortgage at
Right.
all.
I
And
know.
I had a very successful career because I was able to overcome a lot of those things because of who I was. So, like, yes, I work for Rocket Mortgage. I have this product. But a lot of those things that you hear, you're not going to get because you're working with me.
Mhm.
So, it's really about believing in yourself, believing in what you have to offer, believing in the product that you're selling, because
Mhm.
that's the first thing. And Cameron will tell you, when Cameron recruited me, I'm like, Cameron, like, it's all good. I like you, but do you have a product that I can actually sell?
Mhm.
And we do. Our homeowners insurance is out of sight,
Mhm.
so I'm comfortable with partnering with people like you that have clients that have a need, because not only am I confident in myself, but I'm confident in my product. I'm confident that if Denetra's client has a claim, that Denetra can call me and it's going to be taken care of, and it's not going to make you look bad, it's not going to make me look bad, and it's not going to make Allstate look bad, because we're going to deliver on our product every single time.
It's love it, and they do deliver, y'all. They do be doing their thing.
For sure.
What's one piece of advice you would give a woman who wants to get into entrepreneurship? That's a mom. Just.
So, as a mom, you already have the hardest job on the planet.
Mhm.
Being a mom is something that, you're on the job 24/7. Like, it isn't it, I'm 44 years old. I'm still my mama's baby. You know what I mean? So it's something that never goes away. So that means that a lot of us already have it in us to be great in whatever aspect of, and God gives us all talent. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So again, I think it's about tapping into that talent, really falling in love with what you do, and just betting on yourself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I tell myself all the time, and even Cameron, I'm my biggest competition. You know what I mean? We are all our biggest competitions, because whatever we say, we can do. Whatever we want to do, we can do it, as long as we put our mind to it.
Mhm.
So, and don't get down on yourself if something doesn't work out.
Mhm.
Because just because it didn't work out doesn't mean that's not for you. You may need to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. When
Mhm.
I left Rocket, I tried to do brokering, and it didn't work out. And um I got down on myself because I couldn't pay my bills, right? And I'm like, man, you probably shouldn't have left that job. But then
Mhm.
I realized that the thing that I was most afraid of was happening,
Mhm.
and that either I conquered it or it was going to conquer me.
Yes.
So not only did I pivot, because again, I was licensed as a mortgage loan originator, and in your mind, you might think, okay, this is my end all be all. But here I am using
Mhm.
that same expertise, doing something completely different, but the same, and being successful. So we
Mhm.
can't let fear petrify us, and we can't let failure petrify us, because you're not going to succeed the very first time every time.
Yes.
Sometime you will, but not
Mhm.
every time. And if it doesn't kill you, it will definitely make you stronger. So you just have to take those lessons, have
Mhm.
real conversations with yourself, pray about things, and dust yourself off, and keep it moving.
Yes, I love that advice. That is amazing. What I was gonna say, I would definitely feel like, if something does not work out for you, it's always redirection from God. Like it's always something better. Like it couldn't have been for you, if you don't get that. But yes, it definitely being an entrepreneur is something that you definitely have to work hard for every day. You have to keep going. This ain't no game. Like
Mhm.
it look pretty, but baby, it is work. Okay.
And celebrate the wins. Sometimes we can get so
Mhm.
down when things don't work out, and
Mhm.
God always has a way of giving us that just enough glimmer to
Mhm.
understand that it's not all bad. It's tough. It can be very tough to not have enough money to pay your bills, and just, the feeling of not, especially when you don't come from that place. I hadn't been
Mhm.
in that place in a very long time, so it was super uncomfortable. But
Mhm.
out of the uncomfortable times, I'm actually now building something beautiful.
Mhm.
I feel that I'm in the right place, exactly where God has me to be. And sometimes it's more about timing than anything. And you
Yeah.
don't know the timing, so you just have to keep going. You don't know when it might pop off, and things can turn around overnight. So you just have to, continue to have a positive mindset, and,
Mhm.
continue to ask for help. Don't ever be afraid to go to people that have more experience than you. Don't
Mhm.
be afraid to ask questions, or think outside of the box, because those are the things that are going to separate you from other people. And those lessons that you have are definitely going to prevent you from making those same mistakes again, if you actually learn from them. That's the
Yeah.
key thing.
Yes, for sure. That is some great information. What's one thing you want to leave the people with today?
Um, no, I'm a very positive person. I think that we've gotten to a place in our lives where there's just so many bad things happening.
Mhm.
So it's very hard to be positive. What I
Mhm.
can say is that I'm seeing now, because I work with so many partners in the city that are helping people buy homes in the city. It's actually a really exciting time.
Mhm.
I've closed probably 20 deals this month with young entrepreneur, young black, I don't want to say young people that are
Mhm.
younger than me, my children's age, 20s and 30s, buying homes on the west side of Detroit that are 2 bedrooms, $120,000, that are really starting to understand that home ownership is not like option. Like, it's mandatory. You know what I mean? Like, if you
Mhm.
really want to have some additional money in your pocket, you can't be a renter. You have to be an
Mhm.
owner, because rents are just going up
Mhm.
versus, home prices are steady. So if we're talking about how do we, first generation homeowners like myself, my mother never owned a home. I'm a first
Mhm.
generation homeowner. How do I position myself where I'm actually able to start creating generational wealth? This is it. Buy a starter home. You don't have to buy a $250,000 home. Buy yourself $120,000 home where your mortgage payment is $900. That's super cheaper than what it's going to be to go live in Southfield in a 400 square
Mhm.
foot apartment. And at least you have something to show for it. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? It's yours. And if
Yeah.
you decide that you don't want to live there anymore, now you have an asset that you can either continue to own and use as an investment, or sell it and upgrade your home. But
Yeah.
when we talk about generational wealth, owning property is the easiest way to not only establish that generational wealth, but to actually hold on to it. We actually have a product that I wanted to talk about, which is mortgage protection. And I'll touch on that really quickly. So, mortgage protection is a life insurance policy that's tied to the balance of your mortgage that pays your mortgage off in event of your demise.
Mhm.
So, a lot of times we think, oh, I own a home. If something happens, I'll pass it down to my child. Yes. But if you pass away and your home still has a mortgage on it, you're now passing down a liability. because
Mm-hmm.
your child still has to pay that mortgage to the mortgage company. And although the mortgage company will allow you to keep that home as long as they're getting their payment, the reality of it is that still could possibly be a burden for the person that you want to leave that home to if they can't afford to make the payment. So,
Mm-hmm.
mortgage protection on a home is the easiest way to solidify that generational wealth, because if something happens, the mortgage is automatically paid off.
That is awesome. That's some great information right there. Yes, I think. I mean, one of my clients, her dad just passed away, and just they left her with a mortgage. So this would have been awesome for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So it's definitely a conversation that I tell my real estate partners. Have that conversation with your clients. When people buy cars, they always want to buy gap insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage protection insurance is gap insurance for your home. It's literally the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. So it's always good to have that conversation. What are your plans? Who would you want to have this home if something happened to you? And how do we make sure that your wishes are granted even in this process?
Yes. Okay, that is some great information. Thank you, Tiffany, for all of these gems you didn't drop with us
For
tonight.
sure, for sure.
I definitely need to be talking to you about that insurance some more, though.
Okay, okay.
Yes. But thank you so much for coming on tonight, for dropping these gems. This was really nice. So much good information shared tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I believe in what you're doing. I believe that
so,
we are the day, right? We have to educate our own selves because there aren't
yes.
many people that are going to give us, and we are generations behind. We have to first acknowledge that, we came from where we came from. We are where we are, you know what I mean? But just because we're starting somewhere doesn't mean that's how we have to finish. We
Mm-hmm.
literally have to, band up arm in arm and make sure that everybody's on board, everybody understands, everybody knows what needs to happen so that we can just do it.
Yes, and it's information like this that people need to know. This is one of the reasons, like, why I do this, because people don't have this type of information.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I love that you gave all this good information with us tonight. Where can the people find you at besides on Instagram?
Oh, we're located right at Berkeley, in Berkeley at 11 Mile and Greenfield. That's our agency. My phone number is 248-291-3321. That's my direct line. You can get me anytime. I never turn my phone off, so I'm always available. If you have any questions about insurance, if you have a home insurance policy that may be a little bit dated, I can guarantee you, if you have any other company outside of Allstate, 9 times out of 10, I can improve upon your policy, whether that means more coverage, a better price. It's a thing. Like, I ain't gonna talk about the car, but the home insurance is I told Cameron, like, I don't sell many car insurance, but cars, that's just a hurdle in itself in Michigan. But our home insurance is definitely legit. So if you're a real estate agent and you're not tapping in with your clients with Allstate, you're really doing them an injustice, because 9 times out of 10, they're paying more than they need to. And first time
Mhm.
home buyers, as you know, they need every single dime they can get.
Yes.
So, having that professional guidance, and also that assurance that they're going to get a good price is definitely something that most people should have in their pocket. So I'm trying to save as many people as I can,
Mhm.
Denetra. I'm like, come mess with me, but it,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just out here trying to do the Lord's work.
Yes, definitely check Allstate out, y'all. Even if y'all just go over there and get a quote, because listen, they have saved me on so many deals. They helped me with my insurance, my car insurance. So yeah, they done got me together. Check
For
them out
sure.
for real.
For
Um,
sure.
For anyone watching, if you missed part of this, all of my live replays are in my real estate community and the link in my bio. And thank you again, Tiffany, for joining
My
us.
pleasure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
And thank everybody for joining us tonight. And see y'all next Thursday. All right.